So number 8, okay, what number 8 is, we have a situation where um, uh, interest rates going up, which everybody is foolishly saying is a bad thing, and I'm saying it's absolutely an outstanding thing. When you have interest rates go up in an economy, and now we have 50-year, the 30-year mortgage for homes in this country is now at its 50-year average. You make it harder for foreigners to buy our property on behalf of a corrupt government. The Chinese have been buying up a lot of things when the cost of money was really cheap. That's the sad truth, folks. Same with the Saudis. They were using our money that we were shipping out to them to buy up our properties and try to take control of our country without firing a shot. Higher rates make it more difficult for them to do this. Higher rates also make it more difficult for what? It makes it more difficult for people to take on too much debt. You got to remember the example I used with the library. If you have interest rates at 2.5% and you can afford, you can afford $500,000 in interest as a community in the school, you can take out a loan for $20 million and you'll think, oh, wow, it's 2.5% interest. We can afford this. We're paying 500,000 in interest on 20 million. Well, the problem is you still owe the 20 million. If rates were at 5% instead, you would only have taken out 10 million. You wouldn't have had all that $10 million of excess spending going to people's cousins and uncles and other friends of politicians that are lining their pockets at our expense. This is what was happening across this country by artificially low interest rates, folks. This is over. This higher rates going back to a normalized level where people get paid for their money. It takes pressure off of people in retirement because they at least get to earn a just return on the use of their money instead of being paid 0 or 1%. It gets rid of a lot of this excess speculation. And the other thing that it does, and this is where it increases real wage growth over time, it allows people in business to make better decisions about where to invest their money to cut some of their costs. So higher rates is by default, it's going to force companies to invest more by default. The companies that invest more first and have a more productive workforce, they can raise wages to steal workers from companies that have not been investing. It's just that simple. So you have a situation where companies that are investing are going to be able to pull people away and drive wages up. 1.7 job openings for every one person looking for a job. That's also been driving up wages. Okay. So that's also been happening, folks. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable that that this is happening right before our very eyes. These higher rates are going to drive up everybody's wages. They're going to knock inflation back down next year. This is unbelievable that that this is happening right before our very eyes. These higher rates are going to drive up everybody's wages. They're going to knock inflation back down next year. Inflation's already starting to fall. And all the retirees in this country got a nice bump, about 7-8% plus. Man, that's unbelievable. 65 million Americans are getting Social Security. They're all going to get an extra, say, $1,500 or more per year. It's nothing to scoff at. Each million people times $1,000 is $1 billion. So now I want you to think about that. All of a sudden, the seniors in this country are going to get an extra 150 billion or more next year. 150, 200 billion. God bless them. They deserve every single penny. This country's worth 60 trillion, 60 trillion, 60 million millions. So when I see scumbags trying to take money away from our seniors, it pisses me off because the seniors, they put in the time, they worked. We have the money, folks. We have the assets as a nation. We paid for it all. It's all ours. And so they've been cheated by artificially rates being held down, inflation being misstated for a decade. So what? It had to get repriced. But here's the beauty of it, folks. All those retirees out there watching, you guys are going to be picking up a couple hundred billion a year for the next 10 to 20 years. So right there, you're going to get an extra $2 to $4 trillion over the next 10 to 20 years. Think of how awesome that is if we take inflation down. And I just explained why inflation should fall. So we're going to get the best of both worlds. We get all of our wages up for our seniors, and we get our cost structure coming down. And why else is our cost structure as a nation coming down? Perfect segue into the debt debasement.